So, Interviewzeit bei www.kamikaze-radio.de. Das erste Interview heute mit einer Band, die ich schon lange im Interview haben möchte und die sich zum ersten Mal bei mir die Ehre gibt. Gravehuffer habe ich jetzt hier bei mir, nicht live im Studio, sondern über Skype. Ritchie und Mike. How are you doing, guys?
Great, how you doing?
Doing well.
Oh, I'm always doing fine.
Awesome.
So, I'm really excited for this interview. I just said it's my very first interview that I'm doing, not counting the interview test I did with Ritchie a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
And that one already turned out to be like 1.5 hours. So
yeah,
we're going to be talking the whole evening, I guess.
Right on.
All right, so let's begin with the interview. First question I would like to ask is when and how did you as a band form?
Okay, we started in 2008, so we've officially been a band now for 10 years, which is really cool. And we actually started under the name Krom, and we went by that name until 2012. When we changed our name to Gravehuffer. We changed the name due to other bands called Krom that we were starting to get confused with. So we decided a name change would be best. And Gravehuffer was something that a friend of ours had for a band of his, and we just basically stole it from him. And
was he mad about that?
No, we asked him if it was okay.
Oh, okay.
As long as he got free Gravehuffer merchandise for life.
Oh, well, that's reasonable.
Right. So yeah, that was kind of the deal. But yeah, 2008 to 2018. This summer is officially 10 years.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You guys lasted longer than most bands, basically.
Right.
So, are there any plans for like I don't know, kind of what's it called in English? This is where it gets difficult.
Like an anniversary?
Yeah, basically an anniversary. Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any plans for that, or?
Well,
we've been thinking about doing some covers. Like maybe, or kicking around maybe doing a Napalm Death cover.
Oh, that would be pretty
something
cool.
Like we've always wanted to do, but we just never got around to doing it. But yeah, it's our 10-year anniversary, so we should definitely think of it. Like, we have old bands that we're in, and those songs are just kind of dead in the water. Maybe we could do a song from each of the old bands as like, and make them new again.
Yeah. Well, that's basically a pretty good idea. I think people would be into that. So, well, we'll see what time brings. It's still 2018 isn't over yet, so.
Right, yeah.
So, when you started out, what were your main influences?
I think it's basically a good mix of just extreme metal and extreme punk, basically. And, and some thrash in there. And we listened to a lot of older, like, bands from the 80s, like Celtic Frost, Venom, all the way to like Ramones and Sex Pistols, and Black Sabbath, Judas Priest. I mean, we don't really limit ourselves as far as what we listen to. But yeah, there's a lot of different stuff going on for sure.
Yeah, I listen to a little bit of everything, I guess. I kind of feel like you're missing out if you aren't searching for something new, you know?
Yeah, of course.
And but I listen to a lot of like Swedish punk, Belgian punk. I just like super fast music that it's just out of control. You know, it's like a drag race.
Yeah. It basically goes the same way with me. I've got loads of Swedish bands on my show, but also from other countries. I'm currently finding a lot of Greece bands, so
cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
to check some of them out.
Right.
I like downloading like a compilation from somewhere.
Oh yes, that is always good.
Some badass bands on there,
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. There are a shitload of really great labels on Bandcamp, and they're just like only Bandcamp labels, so it's not even like an actual record label or something like that. And some of them keep churning out compilations, like 2 each month and whatnot. And you got a whole lot of really great bands in there. So that's also very interesting. That's basically where I get most of the music from that I play on my show.
Nice.
And it's for the bands itself. It's also pretty cool because they get some airplay and some recognition.
Right.
I mean, that's basically... No, it didn't even really start out with Gravehuffer like that. I think I've seen you guys being posted by Metal Devastation Radio a lot.
Uh-huh.
And I just got curious and I thought, oh, come on, let's give them a listen. So that's how this started.
Oh, okay. I kind of wondered.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Metal Devastation Radio, I would probably not have heard of you, I guess, because I don't follow a lot of radios on Facebook alone. And Zach has been posting you guys really a lot. I think it was about the time when Your Fault was released.
Okay.
And he still does post you guys from time to time. So
right.
there's always Gravehuffer in my newsfeed, which is nice.
Right.
Man, we really appreciate everyone we talk to, we tell them to listen to their radio station, your radio station.
Mm-hmm.
It's like just one hand washes the other. So
exactly.
Every time they do it for us, we do it for them too. So.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of times if I don't have anything, I'm working on something, I'll just tune it on to one of your stations and just let it go.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
Okay. Next question. Have you guys been active in other bands before you formed Gravehuffer?
Yeah. Actually, we were in a band called Initial Detonation, and this would have been about 1996 to 2000. And it was me and Mike and Gravehuffer's original drummer, Larry Deerdorf. And then we had a male and female vocalist and another guitar player. And it was more crust punk kind of stuff. And we did a couple of 7 inches and did a couple of tours, American tours. And
you guys went to Canada on the last one.
Yeah, we played a show in Canada even. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, it was definitely more of the crust punk variety. So
okay,
more in kind of like Nausea, that kind of thing.
Oh yep. I think Nausea was one of the first crust punk bands I've listened to.
Right.
Except for Doom. I think I've heard Doom first.
Right.
I love Doom,
but,
and Nausea.
Yeah, but when I heard Doom first, I think I hated it at first. and then I thought, okay, this whole crust thing is not for me. I'll just stick to The Offspring and sort of stuff like that. And basically a couple of years got by and I got curious again, and what do you know, I suddenly liked it.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so you already basically said your influences are extreme metal and extreme punk. So I think we talked, Ritchie and me talked about this before. How would you as a band describe your musical style? I think we came to the point where we just said it's basically metal punk.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's because it's not like we're any particular metal or any particular punk. I think it's just kind of like extreme in both senses of each genre, I guess.
Mm.
But I mean, it feels like that's where our main influences are. So, and you know, there's always subgenres in between both of the metal and punk, you know, and crossover and thrash and death metal and grind, and we flirt with all that stuff too. So, but yeah, metal punk.
Well, just rolls right off your tongue. Better than other genre names, basically. Oh, I think that's a perfect description of your sound. So I'm fine with that. All right. This is basically the last question of the first part of the interview. So the first part is basically a bit about the past and the beginnings of your band and so on and so forth. And this is going to be a fun one. Do you remember your very first gig as a band, and what was that like?
Yes, we remember that one really good. Our first gig was a Halloween show.
Oh.
And I dressed up as King Diamond. And
please tell me there are pictures of that.
First gig ever.
Our first. You
mean first gig for the band or first gig for us personally?
Both.
Okay,
but first gig for the band, of course, is very interesting. Okay. But your very first gig as a person is, of course, also.
Okay.
And the very first gig for you as a person might be a bit more entertaining.
Right. Yeah. Well, my first gig was probably would have been 1993, and it was at this place called the ATA Hall, and the band I was in at the time was called Sakura, and it was kind of like this. I don't even know what you'd call it. It was like this thrashy death metal, I guess.
Okay.
And we wrote pretty much original material, and we did a cover or two. But yeah, I remember we bought a black backdrop, and we cut out the letter Sakura in kind of an obituary style font, and attached them to this backdrop, and we spray painted the letter silver, and we really went all out for this first show. And we even had a friend of ours operate this little strobe light behind the drum set, and every time the double bass would go, he'd just turn it on. And we even had like an intro. What our intro was from Morbid Angels, Blessed Are the Sick. It was it was this kind of organ part before the song Blessed Are the Sick. I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, that's what we used as our intro. And our singer at the time could not remember the words, so he had this music stand with like a spiral notebook on it. So it was like his analog teleprompter, we always called it. And he played bass and sang, and the first time he goes to sing, he just, bam, he hits his mouth right on the microphone.
Oh, my God.
Starts bleeding. And so we're like, yeah. It was actually a really good show. We rehearsed and practiced for hours and hours and hours and months until we got it down. And it actually went really well. So,
yeah, I mean, it really sounds like you did really put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah, we really did try to.
It was not a complete disappointment or anything like that. No, I
actually have very good memories of that.
That's really good. It's always great when the first gig is not a complete disaster.
Right, definitely.
Well, my first show, it was a punk band, and this was like 1987, and we were playing in this really big hall with this metal band that did all these covers, and we get on stage. We'd never even been on a stage before, and when the sound was bouncing off the back wall, and the monitors weren't very good, so you'd see the drummer hit his snare, and then you'd hear it like a second later. Pop!
Oh, God.
Oh, dude, it was a nightmare. So I was freaking out. And I go backstage, like my hands are shaking real bad, and I was just looking out of the curtain and seeing people coming in. I'm like, man. I went to my friend who was the singer at the time. I'm like, dude, look at my hands. And he's like, get away from me. You're making me nervous. So another friend grabs me, and he's like, come with me. And we go, and we smoke a J. And he's like, the whole time he's telling me, he's like, don't be afraid of these people. He's like, they came to see you. Like, if they don't like it, they can just leave. And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess if they don't like it, they'll just leave. Like, they're not going to attack me or anything, So, hopefully.
Right? Yeah.
And, I kind of just walked out on the stage with like this like fuck you attitude, and I didn't have any stage fright at all. Like, but it was a nightmare, dude. It was like a kind of a small town, and we did Black Magic by Slayer, and so we're like, our singer's like, so who likes Slayer? And you hear like 2 people clap. We're like, oh shit.
Oh
the drummer,
God.
he couldn't hear us in the monitor, so he just takes off flying. Bong, 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 bong. And so you just hear this echo of the snare off the wall. It was nuts. It's probably the most awful show. But I guarantee the people in the crowd, they just all had this crazy looks on their face like, what the fuck is this?
Okay. That's yeah. I would have thought Slayer would get a bit more reaction from the crowd.
Yeah. Well, this is like 1987. So like,
okay, yeah.
A lot of people hadn't listened to too much Slayer, you know.
Yeah, I keep forgetting they weren't that big back then.
Right.
Yeah. I think South of Heaven when they blew up, huh?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, basically. So a couple of years later, if you would have done the same thing, it would have worked better, I guess. Okay, well, thanks for sharing these stories. Sounds very, very interesting.
Thanks.
Well, that kind of wraps up our. The next question is also a bit about the past.
Okay.
Just a bit, though. Well, we're talking about the present, basically, so what you're doing right now. But this is also about your first record, basically. Your current record is Your Fault, and that's your third release, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And before that, your first record was Blasphemy Music.
Yes.
I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Yes.
I don't know. What are your feelings about Blasphemy Music in comparison to Your Fault?
I guess I'll preface this a little bit. We actually did release an album called Chaotic Evil under the Crom name.
Ah, okay.
And it came out in 2009. And about 2/3 of Blasphemy Music is the Crom Chaotic Evil record. So, Blasphemy Music was initially going to be a 6-song EP.
Ah, okay.
And so what we did when we changed the name is we combined them into one release and reintroduced everybody to the old Crom material under the Gravehuffer name. That being said, I like Your Fault better personally. But yeah, there's some cool stuff on the Blasphemy Music album. Some of that was stuff that was already written before I even joined the band.
Ah, okay.
And so there's a little bit of a different influence on it.
It has a little bit more punk.
It does have a little bit more punk rock.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Yeah, I think that Your Fault's probably a little more focused, I guess. I don't know if that would be the correct word, but it definitely is more cohesive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems like we work on the older stuff. We would just kind of just write the riffs really fast. The songs would write really quick. You know?
Okay.
And so the newer ones, it's kind of like we're more like taking care to hook the things together better. And what are you doing there? So I can try. Maybe I can do this here. That's a lot. The old songs, we could just start playing them and go. The new songs, like we have to get warmed up, like pretty good before we started playing those.
Yeah, I think we did challenge ourselves a little more with the Your Fault stuff.
It shows. It's also it has a lot of variety in it. So
Yeah.
and I can't really talk about techniques and stuff like that because I can basically play 3 chords on my guitar and that's about it. But Your Fault seems to be better technically.
Yeah, I I would say that. There is, like Mike was saying, we took a little more care with the arrangements and just tried to be a little more creative with the riffs, and like he was saying, hey, how about like instead of just following the guitar on the bass, let me try this, or let me do like something that would harmonize with it, or I'm just gonna like kind of lay it down on this one note or something, or let me do a bend here, or, we talked about our individual parts a little more and how they would fit instead of just here it is, this is how I'm going to play it and go. Yeah, I mean, there is some of that on Your Fault, but not as much.
Ah, okay. Yes. So, would you consider Your Fault to be your masterpiece up to now? I think you just answered that question, but I'm still going to ask.
Up until now, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I like Chains Around You. To me, if someone wanted to hear just one song, I'd say listen to Chains Around You, and that will tell you if you like the band or not. Because it's got the slower, heavy stuff, and it's got the fast, out of control shit too.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Shut Up and Skate is one of my favorites, to be completely honest. And that piece is also pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's one that was kind of like a surprise. I don't know, maybe not necessarily a surprise, but like a song that a lot of people have latched onto as being one of their favorites. It's probably one of our most popular songs.
It's very hard hitting and just doesn't fuck around. I think it's under a minute even.
I think it's right at 2 minutes.
Right at. I'm not too sure, so I have to check that again. But it's very fast paced, very hard hitting, and just pushes all the right buttons with me. So.
Right. Oh,
nice.
Cool.
Well, that's one that, dude, I was like fighting to get rid of that song. Every time we play it, I'd stop and say, that doesn't sound like us at all. You know? And they're like, well, we play everything. Who cares? Yeah. There's no rules. So
yeah.
But I'd play it. We'd play it at a show, and I go, dude, that just doesn't sound like us. And they're like, we're keeping the song. But yeah, I was surprised too when Ritchie's like, yeah, a lot of people like that song. I was like, oh wow.
Well, I'm really glad you didn't get your wish.
Right. Yeah. It was almost on the cutting room floor. So.
Oh my. Oh, it's really cool that it got to stay on the record. So let's get to some of your songs. Also, one of my favorites is of Fish and Man. Basically, because it is about Aquaman and how much of a loser he actually is. What inspired you guys to write such a song?
Well, we had a song about the Punisher that we do called "Circle of Blood." It's on that the first CD.
Yeah.
And so we'd play at this bar a lot. That one of our friends, he owned it, and he would always make a joke about, why don't you write a song about Aquaman? I guess he kind of liked Aquaman, didn't he? Because he was always talking about, got his arm cut off and he got a harpoon arm. I was like, that doesn't make him any cooler,
I remember that was back in the 90s when he had the harpoon arm.
Yeah.
I think by now Aquaman has both hands again.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I guess he's a fish. He probably grew it right back. Like an octopus.
Back in the 90s, Aquaman was pretty badass actually. I mean, he had this full beard and the long hair and the harpoon arm, and he could talk to fish and stuff like that. On paper, it sounded like a really good idea.
Right. Yeah.
All the bad guys just stay away from the water. This sounds like if you're a bad guy, live in the desert.
Yeah.
No Aquaman here. You can't come in the desert; you'll die.
Yeah.
But anyway, we just thought, we were talking about it, and we're like, we should write a song about Aquaman, but we should make it like his suicide note.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we say he got kicked out of the Super Friends, and then he goes to the Coast Guard, but even the Coast Guard is like, yeah, we're done, And Wonder Woman breaks up with him, and so it's just like his note of him killing himself. He's going to kill himself.
By going to the desert, probably.
Well, actually, the back cover if you've looked at it, it's like a parody of Black Flag's Family Man.
Yeah, I've seen the picture today. The layouts of the LP.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was thinking, this kind of seems familiar. Where did I see that before? Yeah, but that's also really cool. I really can't wait to have the LP in my hands.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, us too, actually.
Well, I guess you can't. So, I have to find my place here again. Sure. Aquaman Suicide. So, without going into too much detail, what is your main inspiration for your song lyrics?
James writes all the lyrics, so I really can't speak for him 100%. But I do know that he watches a lot of documentaries on Netflix and things like that, and so he does write.
He does a lot of research.
Yeah, he does.
He writes lyrics.
He does. He researches a lot. He'll look stuff up online. He reads a lot of books. Makes it sound like he's a nerd, but he's a freaking weirdo.
Yeah, he's a weirdo.
He is an odd guy. But no, he actually writes some pretty cool lyrics. I mean, the stuff he's been writing the last couple of years has really been good. I mean, I was very impressed. A lot of the times, he'll hear the music and it'll remind him of a subject. Or like for instance, this we wrote a new song about the Battle of Stalingrad.
Yeah.
And he's like, this song just sounds like it needs to be written about Stalingrad. So that's what he did. And sometimes we will suggest a subject, like Shut Up and Skate, for instance. Mike said, hey, I want this song to be about skateboarding. And James doesn't skate, but he ended up writing some really cool lyrics about skating. So
yeah, I said, hey, just imagine waking up. All you have to do is worry about where you're going to skate, and smoking one, then skating down to 7-Eleven, getting a big gulp or whatever, and then going skating all day.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it was about. He totally got it and laid it out there. Even the Evel Knievel song, I'm a big Evel Knievel fan, and it's XR 750. And he didn't know anything about Evel Knievel. So I just told him everything I knew, and he did a bunch of research, and he came back with that. He knew all the stuff in there. I was like, hey, yeah.
Color Me Lucky.
Yeah, Color Me Lucky.
That was so cool.
So, yeah, that actually sounds really awesome. With a lot of bands, it's, at least in the grindcore genre nowadays, it seems like either they just kind of slap a bunch of lyrics together, or they just do pig squeals and hope nobody will notice.
They could be writing about, planting beets or something.
In fact, I've had a side project with a friend of mine, and we basically ended up recording a recipe for, I don't know what it was. It was a cooking recipe, or a baking recipe with some kind of strudel or something like that. I don't know. And he basically he took the recipe and he just did this guttural rendition of the actual recipe. He actually started with the ingredients that you're going to need for this strudel, and well, we recorded it and did a bit of tweaking, and I think we put some pitch shifting over that and so on and so forth, and the end result was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you didn't understand the lyrics anyway.
Right.
So we just said, okay, let's just do this.
Right. Yeah. That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
There you go.
So it's always good if you put a bit of more time into the lyrics, so that they actually have a bit of a meaning and are correct with the facts.
Sure. Yeah. James is he's very into writing lyrics. So he does a really good job.
Okay. Now, last question for the present. We'll talk about the future right after that.
Okay.
Well, your Fault was released in 2017, if I'm correct, right?
Yes.
On CD, on tape, and digitally, of course. And
yes.
Now in 2018, you started your pre-sale campaign a couple of months ago to re-release it on vinyl, basically.
Yes.
So the first question would be, why bother with a re-release in the first place?
Okay.
So it's has this always been a dream for you guys to release an album on vinyl?
Yeah, that's it. The latter you said. We Your Fault was supposed to come out on vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
Like 2 years ago.
About 2 years ago, and we had submitted everything to another record label, and then that record label ended up basically stopping, and
they put it on hold. They had it on hold for like 9 or 10 months.
Yeah.
Oh,
they're like,
okay.
We'll put it out, but it's going to be a while. So it sat on the shelf for a while, but then they folded. So then we had to look for somebody else.
Right. We had to start the process all over again. And so we just submitted it to tons and tons of record labels, and we finally got in touch with Bluntface Records, and they had just changed hands to a different owner, and they had mentioned doing vinyl, and being the kind of person I am, I held my hand up and said, hey, we want to do vinyl.
Okay, so it's basically not even a re-release, but it was actually planned to release it on vinyl in the beginning.
Correct, yes. Yes.
Okay.
So it's just one of those things where we had been sitting on it for so long, we wanted to get it out there in some capacity. And so we put it out on tape, on CD, cassette, and digitally. And then when we got with Bluntface, they suggested that we put some bonus stuff on there to be exclusive to the vinyl. And we were like, wow, that's a really good idea. And so we tried to do, we just wrote 2 new songs for it, and we got a guy that used to play guitar in Carcass to guest as one of the guitar solos, and which was really cool, just to give it a kind of a unique, vibe. And then throughout all this, we ended up changing drummers, and so the other bonus track will be the introduction to our new drummer. So the vinyl, the bonus tracks on there, it's kind of funny how much meaning those have to us now.
It's the last song for our old drummer and the first song for the new drummer.
Right. Yeah. And like it encapsulates like all we went through trying to get this vinyl released. It really did go into these 2 songs.
Oh, okay. Well, that is something that not every band can say about their bonus stuff. So that is actually it is pretty cool to even know that. I guess I don't know. I will probably pay more attention to bonus tracks from now on. But also to basically to know. I mean, there has been a bit of criticism during the pre-sale campaign for the vinyl, if I remember correctly. Somebody complained that you guys were just basically, I don't know what exactly he did write the original words, but something like you were just basically rehashing your already existing album and demanding people to pay for that, and so on and so forth. He did have quite a rant about it.
Right, yeah.
But I guess, considering how it was originally planned to to release Your Fault on vinyl, and how that never came to be. That it makes perfect sense to release it now on vinyl, at least to me.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, even the track listing on the track listing on the CD is how it was laid out for the vinyl.
Right.
We wanted a certain song to be the last song on side 1, a certain song to be the first song on side 2. You know, that whole time we recorded that, it was just for the vinyl. Like, we weren't even thinking of CDs.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
We were just thinking vinyl only, and that's how it was going to be. And then when they shelved it forever, we're just like, once we got onto the other label, they're like, hey, we need to get something going right now. And we didn't have the money to pay for a record, so we put the CD out, and it's taken us this long to get, because what happened was our drummer, he got this job where he was traveling all the time, and so he couldn't ever give us any dates for, like, where we'd get offers for a show, and he'd say, I don't know if I'm going to be home that weekend.
Okay.
So we never knew when he was going to be home, so we waited for him for like a year. And then we finally got to the point where, I mean, we've been playing with this guy since like 95, or I have.
Right.
And, he's a badass drummer, but we just can't sit and wait, you know.
Of course not.
And so we talked to him, and he was cool with it. We went through a couple of different drummers trying him out, but nobody really, it didn't feel right, or they're just not doing, like, it's kind of crazy about how, like, these kids or anybody today, they're playing these drums and they're playing these real fast beats, but if you ask them to play like a GBH song or like a doom beat, you know, that D beat or C beat thing, they act like you're from Mars, man. I'm like, hey, play an old school punk beat, and they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, dude, like that.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I guess. Well, I did play drums for like 9 years when I was a kid, but
oh wow.
Yeah, I think I'm very rusted. I couldn't play a punk beat to save my life, I guess. Well, or at least if it would put me behind the drum kit right now, I would just fall back down and cry and hope for all of this to just be a dream or something like that.
Right.
Don't give up, man.
It's been a while. Okay, so that's a bit of background information on your current record, Your Fault. Really some stuff I did not know, so that is very insightful. So let's talk about your future for a bit. We're almost at the end of the interview. There is not much you can ask about the future, basically. So once the vinyl release is done, what are your further plans? So are you going to start touring, going back to rehearsing, or will you go straight back to recording new tracks?
Well, it's kind of all three of those things. Because we're booking shows now, finally. You know, it's been 2 years since we've played a show, and so we've got 3 already booked, and we're got several more in the works too. So we're not going to do any like tour, quote unquote tours, I guess, but we are going to play, you know, shows
far from home,
you know, and we're going to play at home too and play around our area. But you know, we plan on traveling around and playing shows everywhere. So that's definitely in the plans, and we're currently writing for our next album, and recording probably is a little further off, you know, but we've already written probably 4 or 5 new songs. So we've already got one that's completely down that we're going to start playing it out live, and that's the Battle of Stalin. It's called Stalingrad's Cross, and it's really cool. It's got a kind of this Judas Priest vibe to it.
Okay.
And I don't even know exactly. Kind of like Judas Priest.
Like Judas Priest meets Voivod.
Yeah. And then it's got a little bit of an Iron Maiden kind of. Iron Maiden meets Neurosis toward the back end of it. I don't even know
There's the recipe. There's the recipe. There's the ingredient.
There's the ingredient.
Well, that sounds. I can't wait to hear it. Actually, so that sounds really cool. Especially, I think Maiden did a lot of songs about historical things, not basically about battles and stuff like that, but a lot of historical stuff is in their songs and in their lyrics. So I'm looking forward to that. Maybe, just maybe, you will have maybe a live video of that song. That would be really cool.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, we probably will. The guy, we practiced at a guy's house, and he just got a GoPro camera from his wife for their wedding anniversary, and he's going to let us film practices.
Okay.
And then, we'll try to get a snippet of the new song up, hopefully in the next couple of days.
Oh, that would be really awesome. I mean, I would really love to hear it, and what you described to me, that just sounds really kick-ass. So I'm really waiting for that. I'm stoked now. I won't be able to go to sleep tonight. So no, I really want to hear this. Okay. Speaking of touring, it's a common insider joke in the chat room here at Kamikaze Radio that you guys should be doing a Euro tour with a few stops in Germany. How realistic is this idea of you doing a tour overseas?
Man, I would love that, dude.
We would love that. That would be something that I don't think it's a matter of not wanting to do it. It's just a matter of whether or not we could, number one, afford it, and number two, take time out to do it. Because we'd have, well, Mike and I both work in the same office at our job, and so we would both have to take off.
Oh, okay.
So we're not sure how that would work, but that's a little bit of a hiccup that we'd have to figure out. But it's it would be just little things like that we would have to figure out how to get around, just to make sense of everything, and then having the money to fly over there, and I'm sure we could probably borrow gear and stuff like that. But
I guess that would not be the issue. But you also gotta gotta think of the visas, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I would love to go to Germany, man. My family comes from Germany and Austria.
Ah, okay.
So I would love to go there and check it all out.
Right.
Well, so probably not going to happen very soon. But
probably not in the near future. But
unless somebody that has a whole bunch of money is listening, and you can come and pay for it. All we want you to do is pay for the bills. We don't need the money.
Yeah,
we'll take the experience and the fun.
Right.
As long as you can feed us and pay, we break even. That'd be awesome.
Right.
Well, maybe a very, very rich listener will show some mercy. I kind of doubt we have very rich listeners, but maybe I don't know. But never say never, right?
Right. Exactly.
So if it ever comes to you guys doing a tour in Germany, I'm pretty sure you will tell us right away.
Oh yes, definitely.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
okay.
There's no doubt.
Okay, that brings me to my very last question, actually, or at least I have not much more questions planned out.
Okay.
Now, do you plan on releasing your next album on vinyl as well?
Yeah,
if we can afford it,
yeah. I think we probably will. Yeah, I
okay.
mean, I really don't see why not. The vinyl thing's been it's been a challenge, but it's been pretty fun actually when we got with people, like-minded people that really want to help us and achieve getting the record out and bouncing ideas back and forth and coming up with artwork and layout and all that stuff behind the scenes, getting ready for the record. It's actually been really fun. So yeah, it's been enjoyable. So I don't see why not.
Well, except for if you couldn't afford it, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, obviously finances would be an issue, but You know.
The pre-sale campaign did work out pretty good for you guys, so you could do that again.
Yeah, it actually worked out very well. I mean, what's to say this next time we may even have more money. You know, if we play more shows.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll have a lot more money.
Yeah, that was the thing. We had no way to bring money.
Yeah.
We weren't playing shows, so we weren't making any, putting money in the band fund.
Right.
You know?
We were just financing merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we would sell enough merchandise to get more shirts made, or sell enough merchandise to get more CDs or more cassettes. Or we were self-funding everything, but we weren't really making enough to start buying records.
Yeah, I mean, most bands, they're charging $20 for a shirt.
Right.
And we're selling for 10.
We're selling ours for 10.
It makes $2 or something. Not even us.
We usually, we usually buy stuff and then maybe charge double for it, and that's about it. But just to try to make a little bit of money. But no, we don't. If we can get a good contact or a good hookup on merchandise, we'll generally try to take it. That way, we can sell our stuff for cheaper.
All right. Are there already ideas floating around for a title for the new record?
I don't think we've talked about that yet. We haven't really got that far. Like I said, we do have a good 3 or 4 songs, 4 or 5 maybe. One completely written, and then we got another one that's almost completely done, and then we've got 2 or 3 more song ideas that don't have lyrics. But I don't usually the album title comes pretty late in the process.
Okay, so we have a lot to look forward to, basically.
Yeah.
So
we hope so.
Yeah. No, just wondering. Could be you already had a title sorted out, but we will look forward to it. Or I don't know, maybe not every one of my listeners will, but a lot of us will be looking forward. And we will have to live with the suspicion then.
Right.
Yeah. All right. No, that's about everything I got as for question now. I think that is the end of the interview so far.
Okay.
Was really a pleasure.
It was a lot of fun.
Was fun doing, and actually we're still under an hour, so it's pretty good.
Good.
Yeah, last time we talked, it recorded for an hour, and then I stopped recording, and we talked for about 30 more minutes, or maybe even another hour. I don't know.
Yeah. Well.
So we actually managed to get it done in a rather short period of time. So what I'm going to do now is stop recording,